Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. I'm your host, Chris Green, Director of Network Expansion for Avoya Travel. Thanks so much for tuning in today and for your continued support of our program. You know, at On Deck with Avoya, we always strive to provide real information that you can use to run a more successful travel business while also highlighting the best in class resources that make Avoya Travel so unique as a host agency. I love telling people to think like a pro, and I mean it, think like a pro. And if you do, research should show that there's no better partner to have when building a new leisure travel business than Avoya Travel. Today's show is part of the proof in that statement as we focus our time on the concept of professional development and the amazing early success program offered exclusively to those in the Avoya network. Alex Jacobs, early success development coach, is our featured Meet the Team guest today. If you watch this show on a regular basis, you know I'm kind of biased in my love and support of that team. They make such a huge difference. I mean, those coaching sessions, just wow. Talking about just a way to really show the value of a shared success relationship, the kind that Avoya Travel and those in the Avoya Network have, and by working together in the most critical phase of your business. And that's the beginning when you launch, because if you don't get the launch right, I mean, I'm sorry, but game, set, match, it's over, done. So laying the foundation is so vital. And the work being done in our early success program is inspiring. And we can't wait to feature that resource again when Alex joins our program here in just a moment. After my exclusive chat today, we'll give you details on next week's exciting guest, one of our industry's top figures, details on promotions, the Avoya Travel Academy. We'll highlight resources offered by Avoya Travel. They're worth bragging about, let me tell you. And a quick overview of our social media channels that continue to grow, and a big shout out to the trade marketing team and specifically Tegan for getting those up and running. We finally will make sure you have all the ways to reach out and start the process to get involved, see what the cool kids in travel are doing. That's Avoya Travel. I tell you what, do your research. We are number one for a reason. Okay, let's kick off today's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. One of the cornerstone resources offered by Avoya Travel is professional development. Those opportunities for owners in the Avoya network to engage with our team of professionals on ways to increase their sales, their commissions, all the benchmarks that go hand in hand with operating a successful business. Today's special guest has an amazing background in the travel industry. First, for many years as an owner and operator in the Avoya network, now as an employee working with our early success program. So please help me welcome my featured Meet the Team guest today, Alex Jacobs, early success development coach at Avoya Travel, to On Deck with Avoya. Alex, so great to have you on our show today.
Thank you, Chris. Really happy and excited to be here.
You know, Alex, before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, your history in the industry, what it was like kind of being an affiliate in the Avoya network, and what led you to your current role on the early success team.
Yeah, sure. Just not to go too far back, but I entered the industry in 2008, and for those of you who remember, 2008 was probably not the best year to start a business, especially in the travel industry. But I was stubborn because that's what I wanted to do. We were living in Seattle at the time, and then we made our way, spent a little bit of time in Phoenix. We've been in South Florida since 2011, and that's actually when I joined Avoya. Was in 2011, about the same time I moved down here, and yeah. I spent a couple years in it with a different agency, a host agency, and like many IAs, I saw Avoya and I saw the live leads, and I came for the live leads, and I stayed for everything else, is what I like to say, because I learned very quickly that it wasn't just the leads that I was getting a business from, but also all the support and agent power and the amazing tool that it is, and everything else, and all the other support that Avoya had that was really amazing and really set them above and beyond who I was with prior. So yeah, I had been an IA for 15 years, and it's actually kind of interesting. Last February, my wife was between jobs, and she said, "Hey," and she's in marketing. She goes, "Hey, can you check and see if Avoya is hiring?" So I went and looked, and I said, "No, they're not hiring in marketing." And I saw this position, early success sales development coach, and I was intrigued. I was like, this is interesting. I had no idea, no thoughts of closing my agency, but I was, oh, this is kind of odd. So I applied with the intention of just having a conversation with somebody about the position. And I think the day I applied and the day I opened page that had the just job description. The day I apply and the time I applied, between then, I think it was actually closed because they actually hired somebody. So my application went off into cyberspace. But ultimately, I connected with Laura Burke, our senior manager for early success, and we had a conversation. And I was interested more in the position. In the future, possibly, if anything opened up. And she was interested in continuing the conversation with me if something opened up. Well, fast forward to, I think it was April or May, I get a call from her, an email saying, "Hey, Alex, I have an open position. Are you interested?" And I said, "Yes, I am." So to make the long story longer, we had a great conversation. I closed my agency in July, and I've been here since July 31st was my start date, and I love it.
Well, it's a good win-win for both sides, I think, because we're thrilled to have you on the employee side. And I know those that you help nurture in the Avoya network, those that participate in early success, what a win-win for them too, to have somebody as knowledgeable as yourself kind of helping out and providing those coaching sessions.
Thank you.
Alex, when did the concept of travel itself like become something that was ingrained in your life? Did you grow up traveling, or was that something that kind of came to you later on?
It's so interesting because my family did travel quite a bit domestically. I was like when I was a kid, I was obsessed with trains. Like I had a little engineer hat and everything. So finally, my dad took me on a cross country Amtrak train trip, which was great because we had relatives in Vegas. So it was from New York at the time to Vegas and back, and it was awesome. It was wonderful. But then I don't remember ever thinking about trains ever again after that, which was kind of interesting. But no, my wife and I, we lived in the Seattle area, and we would go places not super far. I mean, we'd go down to Mexico, and we did Southern California and Vegas and Hawaii and that sort of thing. And then in 2006, we went on our first cruise and Jewel of the Seas. Still remember, it's funny, you remember more about your first cruise than you do about, most of the cruises since. Remember so much about that, but we really enjoyed being able to sample a whole bunch of different places and then eventually go back on land to those later if we wanted to. And yeah, it just kind of blossomed to where we realized this is what we really like to do. We want to spend our time, traveling and seeing other places. And since then, it's changed quite a bit. We've gone to Europe and a whole bunch of and Galapagos and a whole bunch of great places.
Yeah, the world's a pretty amazing place to go and explore. So when
Yes.
you're in the travel business and you get the opportunity, you always make sure that passport's updated.
Yes. To
You know,
answer your question, yes. I know I am not surprised I ended up in the travel industry. I realized that was the question.
right, absolutely. No, right. We love featuring, our friends from Early Success here at On Deck with Avoya. But from your perspective, Alex, what's the main benefit for an agency to get involved in that optional, but what I consider a vital resource that's exclusive to those in the Avoya network? Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I look at our team, right? We have Laura Burke, our senior manager, Ed, our senior sales development coach, Sandy Atkins, and Mandy Hudson, and myself, and we're all sales development coaches. We've all been IAs, and we've all been IAs with Avoya. So we understand what it's like to be new to travel and new to travel with Avoya. So we have a perspective, and we can have empathy towards growing pains that new to travel agents might be having. And so the resources that we give are just so in depth with how to. I wish I had this when I first started because I did not. I didn't. When I got leads, I was flying by the seat of my pants and really didn't know what I was doing. And now I realize, oh my gosh, I could have been so much more productive in years 1 through 3 had I had this. Just, how to work a lead, how to speak to a lead, what a lead is, and just on and on. And I can go on and on about that, but I know we have other questions to get to.
Yeah, no, all good. I love the passion that you have behind the topic. So all good if you want to go on for a second. But, kind of as a follow-up and maybe kind of lead you to that next logical step, walk me through, if you can, a typical session that you might hold with a group of those that are in the early success program. Some of the topics you cover, you just mentioned a few of
Yeah.
them, and some of the advice that you try to get people to stay focused on as they start their business.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is because so many of our IAs, a lot of them are working full time, but a lot of them are working, maybe they're working full time with a part-time gig or their business, or maybe they're working a full-time job and this is a part-time business. I have one IA am working with who this is a part-time business. She has a part-time business as a realtor, and their family owns a contracting business. So she's being pulled in 3 different directions. So you've got work-life balance, work-life balance, and work-life balance for some people. So for what we what I try to focus on in session 4 specifically are systems, how to make the most out of your limited hours in the day, whether that's a 60-hour work week or a 20-hour work week. That is one of the things we really focus on, is how to set goals and meet the goals, and how to meet the goals by creating systems. But also, we are launching session 6 in March, which is much different now. We're going to be talking about how to get personal clients through different ways, through networking, through events, through organizations, through your contact sphere. And that's launching in late March, I believe the last Monday in March, if I'm not mistaken. And we're real excited about that. We just, put some information on the Learning Enrichment Center about it. There's some sessions that IAs can take on how to build their personal client base as well. And, it's something that I think I can really speak to. And the great thing is we have different people with different perspectives. My business ended up being like about 98% personal clients. Laura's business was just about 100% live leads. And so we're yin and yang in that way, but also because of that, and we have everyone else in our department's kind of a mishmash, but because of that, we can really speak to different ways to grow your business in different ways.
And that's the key, right? I mean, it kind of goes to the heart of things, because no two business owners are going to bring the same skill set to the table. And so it's
Absolutely.
impossible to have two businesses that are cookie cutter of each other. So you have to find what works for you, and to have these various people that have found different ways to be successful and still get to that level of what they call success. It's important to highlight that, so that you don't think, oh my goodness, I just have to go down the same road that everybody goes down, and I have to walk the same way and do the same thing. There's some advantages into looking for similarities, but at the same time, big advantages in putting your own personal spin on things, right?
Absolutely. The perfect example of what you said is everyone's in a different place. Everyone has different experiences. We have some IAs. It's actually amazing to me how many IAs we have who are coming from the health industry. I mean, over half of the IAs I coach are somewhere from the healthcare industry field. And it's we have people with a ton of sales experience. We have people who can build relationships. We have people who have dealt with nothing but numbers their entire life, but they love to travel. But each of them brings a skill that can be utilized in this industry, right? Attention to detail, huge. Being able to talk to people, huge. Being likable, huge. These are all important attributes that people have. Maybe they're not strong in one attribute or skill, but they're probably really strong in another one, and we can use that to build the others.
And because of the strength of your team, Alex, I'm sure that you're able to see some amazing results. And even though that you've only been a sales development coach since last July, August, you must already kind of start to feel that direct success that comes from the agencies that make the decision to engage and then to listen and implement some of the best practice advice that your team offers, and then watching them hit their goals faster and more efficiently. There must be a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, there is. And the biggest thing we can see without, going in, and because we all handle different IAs, of course, but we can easily search and see how long they've been in our program and what their CRP is, their close rate percentage. And it goes up. I mean, it's not, the numbers don't lie, right? You're going through session 1, you're here, you're through session 5, you're up here. And that's just how it is. We also have a rising star, Mike Statini, who was, I believe, enabled early last year. And he came in, and he'll tell you, he went through the sessions, but he wasn't really executing and starting to use the resources we gave and suggested best practices. Then one day he said, you know what, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do every single thing that was suggested to me, and every single thing. And his numbers have skyrocketed. He is easily by far one of our favorite risers. I mean, he's amazing. He's doing a great job, and he's using the resources. And the truth's what do I say? The truth's in the pudding. That's not right. You get the idea. The proof is in the pudding. Yeah, the proof, not the truth.
Absolutely. We actually had Mike on as a guest last week. We had some audio trouble.
Oh,
our plan is to get him back on the show again. But yeah, I mean, his passion and his energy certainly shines through, despite the fact that we had a little bit of mic trouble. Hey, listen, it's On Deck with Avoya today. Alex Jacobs, early success development coach at Avoya Travel, is our exclusive Meet the Team guest. Alex, what kind of advice might you offer someone that's new to our industry and they're just kind of watching us and thinking about getting involved in this crazy business, selling leisure travel? What kind of advice might you offer that might make their entry into our industry maybe a little smoother?
I'll tell you, one great quality to have is optimism. But being overly optimistic can be a hindrance. You have to have a teeny bit of realism in there with you. I mean, we have IAs who come in and they want to book $1 million in their first year. And even if they do book $1 million in the first year, one of the things I think a lot of new to travel agents don't realize is unless it's, Allianz is awesome. If it's a cruise, you're not getting paid probably until they travel. And so you have to make sure that you are ready for that. I mean, you could do, like we said, you could do $1 million in sales, but if over half of that's not coming until next year, you have to be ready. But I would also encourage when IAs are new to travel to come in is to shift their mindset from short term to long term. Because short term, we can get, okay, you might get that client who they want to go on the cheapest, they want bunk beds on a Carnival weekend cruise on an inside cabin, right? And you're not going to make much off of that. You're just not. But that same client, maybe they're young, maybe that's their first venture into cruising. Maybe, you hope that maybe over the years, they're going to have more income. They'll want to bring some more people with them. They're going to graduate to a balcony cabin, maybe ultimately a suite on their honeymoon. You don't know where that's going to take you. So it's important to treat every single client like they are a VIP and give them that personal service and touch base with them, follow up afterwards. And you can building your client base long term is what you're going to have the most success with.
You mentioned it earlier in our conversation that you wish the early success program had been around when you were first joining the Avoya network, because it would have helped you make fewer mistakes and kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the learning process would have been cut in half, so to speak. And I think part of the reason why that is, right, Alex, is that this resource really does allow people to understand some of the things that normally only time can allow you to understand. Like, hey, don't shop out of your own pocket. Don't sell out of your own pocket. Don't automatically assume that because this client said this or this client is from this area that they can't afford the best. I mean, listen,
Right.
if they can't afford it, they can't afford it. They'll tell you. But those are little things that I think the early success team can help people kind of avoid those normal pitfalls.
Absolutely. I mean, we like to talk about, asking open-ended questions, having conversations with clients, because if you want to be an order taker, we always say that we don't want to. You want to be Starbucks, McDonald's. You don't want to be just place your order, drive around, pick it up. That's not what you want. You don't want one and done. You want to have a full relationship with your clients to really understand what they want. They may say, the perfect example, I had a client who came to me and said, we want to go on a Carnival cruise. And I said, wow, great. Have you been on Carnival before? No, we haven't been on Carnival before. Well, why not? Well, I said, well, we haven't been, but our neighbors have been. They love it. Well, fortunately, I stopped myself, stopped the whole conversation, and I started having an open-ended conversation. Because you have someone that comes to you say, this is what we want to do. Your instinct is to say, okay, let's do it. But then you have the conversation, and realize, oh my gosh, they'd be miserable on Carnival. They can't stand us. And I would tell them why. I said, listen, I don't think Carnival's right for you. I think Princess or Celebrity is more up to your speed, and have that conversation. So it is about having these open-ended conversations like you would with somebody if you were just chatting at the bar or a restaurant or someplace. And they're going to appreciate you. If you flat out say, I don't think this is right for you, this is better, they're going to appreciate that. And I would getting questions. People sometimes new IAs are afraid of questions. Questions are the best thing ever, because you answer the questions, the client is going to respect you even more, and they're always going to come back to you because you know that you are going to get the right answer for them.
And again, this wasn't something we talked about, kind of pre-show, but one of the things I would advise people is don't be afraid to say, Alex, I don't know the answer to that question, but right now, but I want to make sure that I have the absolute up-to-date information to provide you and answer that. Give me a couple of minutes. I'm going to do some research and I'll get back with you with the answer, right? There's nothing wrong with telling people that I'm going to dig in a little deeper on this topic.
Absolutely. I mean, I would rather, there have been times where I've said, I believe this is the answer, but I want to make sure 100% before we move any far forward, because I know this is an important, question to answer for you. They will respect that. I mean, they're not, most of the times it's people really just trying to figure out what they want to do. If they have specific questions, it means that they're unsure and they want to be reassured. And that is where you, the IA, the expert, comes into play. You get the right answers for them and you communicate clearly, and then they feel much more comfortable about using you then and in the future.
It's a point that's been made by several people over the years I've been hosting this show, but being genuine is a really amazing sales technique. You know what I mean? It's a great
Yeah.
way to help your closing percentage just being a genuine human being and caring.
Right, exactly. Not a robot. I mean,
Yeah,
you can usually connect with an IA, you can usually connect with a client in multiple different ways. It's just like, again, having those open-ended conversations that they talk about what they want to do and this, oh, you have a kid. Oh, how old is he? This, that, and the other. There's so many things you can relate to. I had an IA I was coaching who, he has done literally just about every job you can think of at some point in his life. And he never thought of it, but that's a conversation for him. Because we talk about what we do and he can talk about anything. He's lived all over the country. That's a conversation, right? It's like, oh, you meet someone in Ohio. He's lived in Ohio. He can talk about, oh, I live down the street. It's a way to connect with people. There's being relatable, being likable. Likable is the big one, right? People are not going to work with you or refer you any business unless you are a likable person. And then, of course, demonstrating that you are credible and competent in what you do are really the next two steps.
absolutely. So what about you, Alex? What do you like to do when you get a chance to get out of the office, even though your office and your home are one and the same?
Right. Well, so the reason a lot of people ask me what made me leave Seattle, and I usually point to the blue sky and the big glowing globe up there, which I don't get to see for about 9 months of the year in Seattle. So for me, it was about the weather and coming down here. We love going to the beach. We love relaxing. We do love our space. I will admit, even before COVID, we became a little bit somewhat of homebodies, but we do like to get out and have a good time. But honestly, we love traveling. I mean, we love to get out and go. Like last year was a milestone trip to the Galapagos, and it was on Flora. And that was 3 years, actually, technically 4 or 5 years in the making, because we booked it in 2018 for 2020. Well, we know what happened in 2020. And so we bumped it, and we finally went. And to tell you, that is amazing. That Galapagos is amazing. And if you're going to go on any ship, you go on Flora. That thing is phenomenal. But yeah, we love to go places and to travel. We actually 2 years ago we went to Munich to watch our Seattle Seahawks lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first ever NFL televised regular season game. And it was amazing. My wife's dual citizenship German. So for us, it was like, oh, this, when it was announced, we have to go. Like, how can we not go to this? It was like tailor made for us. So we really like to when we're not like when we're home relaxing, we're actually talking about where we're going next or where we're going after we go, where we go after next, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, you sound like me and my wife. There's always a couple of trips in the hopper that are
Hmm.
getting planned along the way. You know what I
Yep.
mean? That's things that gives me another reason to watch another video on YouTube or whatever the case may be to get inspired. And traveling certainly is a great option for those of us in the travel business. It's not the only reason to get involved in the travel business, but it sure is a nice kind of perk, right? Of being
I
involved.
tell you, absolutely. And we used to watch a show. I don't think it exists anymore. It was called Caribbean Life on HGTV, and the show was they would go in and there were these people that wanted to move from the United States and they wanted to grab a house, move to Vieques or Punta Cana or any of these places in the Caribbean. And that's where we've learned about a lot of places that we actually weren't as familiar with. And we just recently returned from Puerto Rico and we spent 4 nights on Vieques, which is a small island off of Puerto Rico, and it was amazing. And the amount of expats there and the people that spoke English was off the charts. No, not one traffic light on the island. And it's one of the first places where like we're going back. Because it was usually all these other places we want to go. We're going back to Vieques sometime in the next 2 years. Definitely. It was amazing.
Alex, do you see travel adventures through a different kind of lens now that you're a travel professional, say, than before you got involved in the industry?
100%. I think the difference is I first think about, okay, who do I know that would like this? Which of my clients would like what I'm doing right now? And do I think this would be up to snuff, what I'm doing right now for my clients? Because sometimes I'm doing, a third party tour someplace and the tour operator might be terrible. And I'm like, well, I'm never gonna give them to a client, never gonna send them to a client. So yeah, I think about that and I think about mostly that and whether or not I think my clients will benefit from it. Yeah.
For sure. Alex, before we wrap up today, anything about early success that we haven't touched on that you think is vital to our conversation?
You know what? I wanted to talk about one thing really quick. What we're seeing in this industry lately is, see, I joined in 2008. In 2008, it was Travelocity came in, Expedia came in, and then Orbit shortly thereafter. And everyone was like, well, the days of the travel agent were gone because all of the airfare commissions were gone. And it turned out that it's kind of come full circle a little bit. Yeah, a lot of people went to Expedia and Travelocity, but they realized that when they had issues, they had to call Expedia and Travelocity to deal with those issues rather than a specialist. So what we're seeing in the world right now is that people really want a specialized one point of contact premium service where they can do everything from their couch. And that is something that you can't get with Expedia. I mean, you can do a lot of things, but you can't call them. I mean, you can't email them and you can't text them. If you have an issue while you're traveling and you have to call Expedia and you're dealing with trying to just get a signal to call, or you can get Wi-Fi and just, message your travel agent. Which would you rather do? Talk to the person who knows exactly where you are and what you're doing, or some person in the call center who has no clue. So I feel like this being an IA now, being a travel agent is a tech proof against like Expedia and on the online travel agencies. And I honestly feel like it's AI proof, because even if AI advances to a point where they're able to create all these itineraries, they're still not going to be able to call and make changes and help you when you have issues. So that's my biggest take right now is I feel like we're seeing more and more people, and Gen Z too. Gen Z wants this. Gen Z wants this kind of service sitting on their couch. We think of like, traditionalists and baby boomers as the ones who, use a travel agent, but what we're finding it's the exact opposite. It's Gen X and below who are, I want to be able to have someone else handle all this, an expert, but have that be my one point of contact. I mean, do you really, if you're booking travel, would you really want to stay on hold for an hour? No. Right. So why wouldn't you use a travel agent?
I want to be able to send a text and say, Alex, book this, or Alex, fix this, or something
Exactly.
along those lines, right? You know what I mean?
Yes,
And know that it's going to be taken care of. All right,
absolutely.
Alex, let's hit you with the big final question. All of our guests for the last 3+ years have answered the same question, and it's really simple. It just highlights, given all of our different unique perspectives in the industry, kind of what our shared perspective is. And it really is simple. Are you excited about the future of leisure travel, and why, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. I really think that it's going to do nothing but continue to grow for a lot of the reasons I know I already stated. Everything is changing. It's kind of one of those things where we've gotten to a point with the information superhighway. If you have an interest in something, it's out there and you can find it. If you want to go on a cruise with a bunch of people who collect frog toad figures, I probably can find it. You know what I mean? There's something for everyone out there. I think that the world is getting smaller and smaller, and people are really thrilled about being able to get out there and see other things and venture out, sometimes beyond their comfort zone or just to experience other cultures. So I'm very high on it.
Alex Jacobs, everyone, early success development coach at Avoya Travel. Alex, great conversation. Thanks so much for your time today. And we really appreciate you being on Deck with Avoya.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Next week, we're so excited to welcome back from CLIA my dear friend and industry icon, Charles Sylvia, ECC, Vice President, Trade Relations Industry Special Envoy at Cruise Line International Association. Charlie's always a great guest, incredibly knowledgeable. Talk about being connected. I mean, his Rolodex, you can just spin that for days and days. And we're excited to share his thoughts on ways to make your business better, find out his impressions on kind of where things are in the cruise industry. It's always one of our top programs every year, and we can't wait to welcome Charles Sylvia back to On Deck with Avoya next week. Talk about being excited. Our ongoing military discount and promotion keeps us excited because we certainly love to honor those that serve and have served this great country of ours, both the veterans and their spouses, active duty, retired. $100 off any curriculum package in the Avoya Travel Academy, and then $100 off on the affiliation to join Avoya. Details at avoyanetwork.com. Get connected with a specialist. They're more than happy to get you qualified on that. The Avoya Travel Academy, they're doing great. They've got a sale going on right now for a couple of weeks. So get out there. There's 3 different options, right? There's the basic, there's essential, it's cool. And then there's pro. And you know where I kind of fall on the meter. I think if you're not going to think pro, why bother, right? I mean, think pro always if you're going to be a small business owner. But again, that Avoya Travel Academy, the curriculum's amazing. It covers all the bases. It's not that, big a time commitment to get through. You're talking about 35 to 40 hours. And then boom, you could be in the Avoya network from there. And that's once you're in the Avoya network, you can take advantage of all the resources. You can get involved in the early success program that we were talking to Alex about today. It gives you a better opportunity to really manage things like agent power and the live leads and the marketing assets in the Avoya Marketing Resource Center. Avoya and Resource, the best-in-class resources offered. Again, hand in hand, why we're #1 host agency out there, and we certainly appreciate that. Boy, there's lots of ways to follow us these days here at Avoya Travel. Our social media interests just grow and grow on TikTok and Pinterest. You can give us a follow at Avoya Travel Network. We certainly appreciate all of our trade marketing team and their great ways of making sure that our message gets out to the right people, because we want you to reach out. We want you to go to avoyanetwork.com and get that information. I certainly don't mind if you just pick up the phone. You can reach out to me directly, right? There's my phone number popping up on the screen, or my email, directchris.green@avoyatravel.com. But I'm telling you, avoyanetwork.com, ton of information there. Our YouTube channel has all of our past episodes archived. It's a great way to kind of get information about what's happening at Avoya Travel. Big thanks to Alex Jacobs today from our Early Success Program. What a wonderful conversation. Thanks to Annabella for producing a wonderful show today. Thank you for being part of our program. Until next week, when Charlie Sylvia joins us from Maclea, take care, my